Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the critical intersection of our most precious natural resource, global security, and some, frankly, truly alarming trends we've witnessed over the past year. We're talking about water. We turn it on every single day without a second thought, but globally, it's rapidly becoming a major flashpoint for intense conflict. I want to hook you right away with a pretty stunning figure, 420. In the year 2024 alone, a staggering 420 distinct water conflict events were reported worldwide. To put that into perspective, that represents a shocking 20% increase from just the year before in 2023. We are seeing a rapid, accelerating trend in violence associated with water. So today, we're going to figure out exactly why this matters and what you should really take away from all this data. Let's take a quick look at our roadmap for today. We'll cover the rising global water crisis, whether water acts as a trigger, weapon, or casualty, water systems in war zones, local unrest, and cyber threats, and finally, securing our water future. All right, part 1, the rising global water crisis. To really understand the sheer scope of this issue, we have to look at the Pacific Institute's Water Conflict Chronology database. It's the world's most comprehensive open-source tracker, covering over 2,750 events, spanning more than 4,500 years of human history. But here's the thing. Their November 2025 update is a massive wake-up call. They added 844 new instances of water-related violence. So this isn't just historical data anymore. It reveals an accelerating, exponential trend happening right now in our modern world. Moving on to part 2, trigger, weapon, or casualty. To truly grasp what this data is telling us, we need a bit of a foundational vocabulary. Water basically acts in 3 distinct ways during a dispute. First, as a trigger, meaning water scarcity itself is the root cause of the fight. Second, as a weapon, where water is wielded as a tool of violence, like intentional flooding, for example. Or third, as a casualty. This is where vital infrastructure, like dams or treatment plants, gets destroyed during broader warfare. When we break down those 420 events from 2024, the distribution is pretty revealing. The vast bulk of them, about 276 events, actually saw water systems acting as a casualty of broader violence. However, triggers were also alarmingly high at 152 instances. That means water scarcity literally caused over 100 violent events. And keep in mind, some of these events fall into multiple categories, which just goes to show how complex these crises can actually become. So who's actually fighting these battles? Well, the data shows that the threat is escalating on absolutely all fronts. The database highlights a rapid, simultaneous jump in both interstate conflicts, meaning disputes directly between different countries, and intrastate conflicts, which are internal domestic disputes within a single nation's borders. Which brings us to part 3, water systems in war zones. The Pacific Institute details extensive impacts across major active conflict zones, and we're seeing this play out right now. In the Middle East, attacks expanded rapidly in 2024. Over 30 water wells were destroyed in Gaza, and airstrikes damaged networks in Lebanon's Tyre district. Meanwhile, looking at the Ukraine-Russia war, civilian lifelines were hit on both sides. Ukraine's massive Dnipro dam was attacked, spilling roughly 3,000 tons of oil, while missiles fired into Belgorod, Russia, crippled local water infrastructure. It's a tragic loss of vital civilian lifelines across the board. Shifting geographically over to Africa, we see militant groups actively targeting water to exert control. In Sudan, the Rapid Support Forces briefly occupied the Golo water reservoir in May 2024. That is a resource critical for 270,000 people. And later, they targeted water stations in Shawak with drone strikes. In Burkina Faso, militants from the JNIM group literally detonated explosives to completely destroy a water well in Kinshari. This is what it looks like when water becomes a direct casualty of insurgency. Part 4. Local unrest and cyber threats. But what happens when the attack on our water doesn't come from a missile, but from a keyboard? Let me share a terrifying new frontier with you. On January 18, 2024, a pro-Russia hacktivist group digitally breached the control systems at 2 water facilities right in the United States, specifically in Texas. They didn't just steal data either. They actively tampered with the digital water pumps and the facility's safety alarms. Think about that for a second. They manipulated the literal machinery from a computer screen miles and miles away. And this brilliantly, or rather terrifyingly, illustrates the physical, real-world consequence of a digital breach. Because they disabled the alarms and manipulated those pumps, the hackers caused the water to run right past designated shutoff levels, completely overfilling the storage tanks. It's a cyber attack resulting in a literal physical flood. Expanding this out to the macro level, the scope is massive. A survey of 350 US and British utility firms showed that over 60% reported being targeted by cyber attacks in 2024, and the vast majority of those suffered serious disruption or data destruction. Make no mistake, our digital water infrastructure is under active siege.
Now, these crises aren't just digital. Local scarcity is sparking intense physical unrest worldwide. In Peru, desperation from regional shortages led over 500 farmers to forcefully break a water company dike. They were redirecting the flow just to irrigate their dying crops. It really shows the lengths people will go to when their livelihood is on the line.
Localized water access is sparking violent protests and clashes all over the globe right now. We're seeing an armed attack on an irrigation project in Bangladesh, violent drinking water protests in India, and military interventions at a pipeline protest in Mexico. Down in Madagascar, students even barricaded their university with burning tires simply to demand better drinking water. Water is a powerful, immediate trigger for civil unrest. Finally, Part 5, Securing Our Water Future. Looking at the broader geopolitical map, massive interstate tensions are brewing. North Africa is facing a multi-front security crisis involving Egypt, Ethiopia, and Somalia over the management of the Nile River, which is a literal lifeline for the region. These large-scale river disputes represent true geopolitical powder kegs. But, there is hope, and it comes in the form of innovation. For instance, the 2025 Agri-Next conference put a massive spotlight on vertical farming. Agriculture is one of the heaviest consumers of fresh water globally. By shifting to technological innovations like sustainable vertical farming, we can drastically reduce our water dependence. And that eases the pressure that leads to the very conflicts we've been discussing. Which brings us to the ultimate question we have to ask ourselves. As water conflicts rise by a staggering 20% year over year, can our sustainable innovations actually outpace the growing violence over our most vital resource? The data is grim for sure, but human ingenuity is incredibly powerful. I hope this explainer helped you understand the profound impact of water security globally. Definitely keep paying attention to this space because our future truly depends on it. Thanks for learning with me today.